The UNC Pembroke football team improved to 2-0 in 2016 with a dominating 50-28 win over Fayetteville State. Highlights from the game included a record-setting outing for kicker Matt Davis, who nailed all 5 field goals he attempted en route to becoming the first kicker in program history with 20 or more points in a single game. Next up for the Black and Gold is a game against Shaw in Durham this weekend. UNCP women's soccer is still looking forward to their home opener on September 21st. The only game the Lady Braves played last week was a 1-0 loss at Mount Olive. We'll hear more about their season in a little bit. On the men's side of the pitch, the Braves won their home opener against Brevard 2-0. It was the first win at UNCP for new head coach John Milleracey. We'll talk to him later in the show as well. UNCP volleyball notched its first win of the season, a 5-set thriller against Emmanuel on September 9th. With the bulk of the non-conference schedule behind them now, the Braves will play their next 8 matches against Peach Belt Conference foes starting this weekend. And UNCP Cross Country competed at the Furman Classic, with both teams taking 6th place out of a field of 18 non-Division I squads. After a weekend off, UNCP Cross Country will be in Nashville for a meet on September 24th. The Black and Gold Report starts now. Welcome to another episode of the Black and Gold Report presented by Pepsi, a show all about UNC Pembroke athletics. I'm Cameron Songer, and this week we talked to UNCP head football coach Shane Richardson about his team's big win over the rival Fayetteville State Broncos. We'll also preview this week's game against Shaw. Then we'll check in with men's and women's soccer head coaches John Milleracey and Lars Anderson, respectively. A lot to cover this week, so let's jump right in. I'm joined right now by head football coach Shane Richardson. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me back.
It's a big win a week ago. Fayetteville State, it's a rivalry game. Your team really kind of dominated the proceedings. 50-28 the final score. What are some of the big takeaways?
So it's funny. The score really does not indicate how I felt after the game or how I think our team felt and our coaching staff as well. The first thing that I told our team was our program, it's not about winning the game. That's not the only goal or the only thing that we're focused on. But what we want to do is we want to make sure the process and the way that we do it is the right way as well. I was actually a little bit dissatisfied with the penalties, some of the discipline factor that I didn't think that we were as sharp with some things on that. I thought we kind of engaged in too much extracurricular stuff with them. I didn't like the way that we kind of displayed our class a little bit, and those might sound a little nitpicky based on what the end result was, but truly I'm trying to make sure that we stay the course with everything that we talk about, everything that we believe in, and making sure that we're not getting complacent or content in any way whatsoever. We jumped out to a fantastic start right away, and then I just thought that we kind of let down a little bit and we kind of rode the roller coaster a little bit of momentum. And so there's a lot of things that we're going to look to improve on this week.
Let's start on offense. Obviously, a lot of points scored. One of the key players, Miles Grant, who ran for 132 yards, caught a pass for 27 yards and a touchdown against the Broncos. Should we expect to see him get more involved in the offense as the season rolls along?
Absolutely. Miles Grant is a difference maker. He's a guy that we had some ball security issues with him for the past couple weeks and even back in the last spring. But he has really focused hard on trying to fix and improve those, has done a great job. Saturday, he ran very well, gave us a spark. He runs and cuts a little differently than some of the other guys on our team, and so it's just a different element that I think defenses have to account for. And he did a fantastic job with being able to come in and really carry the load for us, and he certainly will get more touches as the year goes on.
Through the air now in the offensive passing game, the Black and Gold picked apart a pretty good Broncos secondary to the tune of 264 yards, 3 touchdowns. What did you see from your guys on passing plays?
I think Pat's getting more comfortable, and he connected on some throws that he definitely should have and definitely did a good job of making some really good reads. I also think that our receivers are doing a good job of catching the ball and not dropping balls that should be caught and have a chance to be caught. And so I think we're getting better at that. And so I think the timing of all of that after 2 games underneath our belts really helps to add to that efficiency in the passing game.
Turning to the defensive side of the ball now, the FSU offense had some success on the ground, but in the air, your team limited them to just 99 yards passing. It's back-to-back games now to start the season where opponents have had less than 100 yards passing in the game. It's obviously going to be tough to continue and tough to keep going, but what have you seen from your defense, and in particular the secondary?
I really like how we're playing our coverage responsibilities in the back end, and we're challenging quarterbacks to beat us with their arm and beat us with having to kind of, take apart our secondary. And the first 2 games, I think it's a little bit what you said. I think we've had some good success with that, and the quarterbacks that we've faced so far, they've been athletic, they've been mobile guys, and I think their strength has been with their legs a little bit more instead of with their arms. And so we've been able to come out on top in that category.
Special teams had a huge impact on Saturday night's game. Kicker Matt Davis, talked about it a little bit, broke the school record with making those 5 field goals. Damian Whitaker also blocked a punt, returned it for a touchdown. Fayetteville State also returned a kickoff for a touchdown. What were your overall impressions of that special teams unit?
I think, other than the touchdown that we gave up, I really thought that we had a good thing going. Now, we struggled to punt the ball. We didn't do a great job with the 3 punts that we did have, but with the block punt with the touchdown and putting the points on the board with Matt Davis, very big game changers there. Damian Whitaker was named our special teams player of the week, and Matt Davis was honorable mention with obviously the 5 field goals. But having Matt's ability to be able to put points on the board when we can't put it in the end zone offensively really helps us out. We can't rely on him all the time. We got to be able to put the ball in the end zone more, but really thankful for that. And he gives us a spark, and we've got to continue to improve some of the weaknesses that we saw in the Special Forces game as well.
All right, Coach. We need to take our first time out here on the Black and Gold Report, but we'll be back with Coach Shane Richardson right after this. Welcome back to the Black and Gold Report. I'm Cameron Songer, joined once again by UNCP head football coach Shane Richardson. Coach, the final score of the game against Fayetteville State, 50-28, but at halftime it was just a 5-point lead at 19-14. Yep. You brought your team into the locker room, come back out, that third quarter really turned things around.
Yeah, we talked about after the Winston-Salem game how all great teams are second-half teams, and no matter whether you're leading at halftime, behind at halftime, you've got to be able to play a great second half to close out games. And fortunately, we had the lead going in at halftime this week, and we were able to close that out and build on that. And I think really got the momentum going there in the third quarter, which was good to see. I felt like there was a point in time where all phases just started to come together, and we've got to continue to know how important it is to finish games and know how important the second half is. And we do train that. We train how important the fourth quarter is as well, and making sure that in the fourth quarter when both sides are starting to get wore down a little bit, we are able to really mentally, emotionally work through that and show some toughness there and be able to step up to the plate in our conditioning level and being able to fight through and finish the game out the right way.
Well, I know one of the things you're going to tell me you want your team to improve on would be that kick return that the Fayetteville State Broncos had for a touchdown. That was in the first half, so going back to that a little bit, revisit that just a tiny bit, but also what are some other things that you think are places for improvement now with 2 games into the season?
Yeah, I think just as far as an alignment, assignment, technique standpoint, I think everyone can do their jobs just a little bit sharper. They can start really honing in and mastering some of their positional responsibilities. And we go back to a saying that we use around the program, and just do your job and make sure that you're focused on what you're supposed to be responsible for, master that, and make sure that you're doing that the best of your ability. And I think we got to make sure we're doing that with all 11 guys, no matter what phase of the game it's in. As I kind of hit on before a little bit, I think we can handle ourselves a little bit better when some emotion and adversity starts to strike. Maybe if the other team is, just provoking us a little bit, we've got to be able to still stay disciplined and do what we're supposed to do at a very high level, and do it that way no matter what the circumstances are, no matter what our mood or emotions might be. We've got to make sure that we're doing the right things. And so those are going to be points of emphasis this week as well.
Yeah, talking about that emotion a little bit, for a lot of guys, it was their first opportunity to suit up in front of the home crowd at Pembroke, and a pretty good crowd as well on hand. How do you feel your guys handled that big kind of first test under the lights?
I think they handled it well. I think there was some natural emotion going into this game because it was the last of the series. They knew that this was one last time to keep the cup and to make sure that we were able to come out on top, and that group was going to kind of leave a legacy no matter what the outcome of the game was, whether it was in our favor or not. And so I think they wanted to do that. But I think as far as the game day setup, the game atmosphere, our whole operations staff did a fantastic job around campus, and with the direction of Dick Christie and Paul O'Neill and everybody that contributed. It was a great game day atmosphere, and I think our guys responded well to it because they were very appreciative for that.
Turning forward now, this weekend your team will hit the road again, traveling to Durham to take on Shaw, trying to complete a 3-0 run against CIAA opponents. What's the early scouting report on the Shaw Bears?
Shaw Bears, I think, will be very athletic. They will have personnel that will be able to expose us if we're not disciplined, if we're not in the right positions, if we're not focused in on what we're supposed to do. I think that they've got very good skill guys, and then they've got some big guys up front on both sides of the ball. And so I anticipate they're going to be very hungry. Coming off from what they've experienced the last couple of weeks, they're going to be hungry for a win, and they're going to want to do it at home. You know, a little bit about the history with Shaw. 2 years ago we went up there, and the result was basically the opposite of what we experienced at Winston-Salem. And so we had a 17-0 lead up at Durham County Stadium 2 years ago, and we lost it in the second half, and they came back to beat us 20-17, I believe it was. And that doesn't sit well with us, and so that'll be a great reminder for our guys to know that, hey, we need to go up there and we need to play very, very well, and we haven't won in that stadium yet, and so it's a great place to play. It should be a fun atmosphere, and we're really looking forward to getting after them on Saturday.
Now, 2-0 already against teams from in the state of North Carolina, an opportunity to go 3-0 this week. Still a couple more on the schedule with Catawba, Lenoir-Rhyne, and then also North Greenville out of South Carolina. Just talk about the importance of really establishing yourselves in the region.
I think that's really important. You know, when it all comes down to it at the end, the postseason rankings are by region, and they really look at what you're doing against in-region opponents. And so to be able to play well against teams from our region, not only from a postseason standpoint, but also from a recruiting standpoint. We want to be able to have all of our prospects in the state of North Carolina be able to recognize that and see that we're able to play a high level of football and be able to run a program the way we do, and I think that bodes well for us. And so we checked a stat to go along with the programs in the state. I think we're one of seven teams right now that are 2-0 in the state of North Carolina out of all divisions in college football. And so that's pretty neat because the state has a few college football teams in it at all divisions. And so we want to keep that going for sure, and hopefully we'll be able to do that here this week against Shaw.
All right, Coach Shane Richardson, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Cameron.
When we come back on the Black and Gold Report, we'll talk with men's soccer head coach John Miller-Racy. Don't go anywhere.